Well, hi everybody. Welcome back. This is Shy with Pure Prison, and we are live right now. Well, sort of live with Kimberly Combs. So excited to meet her. She reached out to me whenever I posted my Facebook the other day, asking for people to reach out to me that have been incarcerated that are willing to share their stories. So we're super excited to have her in the studio today. So please welcome Kim Combs. I'm going to go let her introduce herself to you real quick. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit
Hi.
about yourself?
Well, my name is Kim, obviously, but yeah, I was just a normal person like everybody else in the world, I think, and just became addicted to some pain medication after a car accident in 2000 that left me disabled. I was a registered nurse and had everything going for me, and just they with the little signature of a doctor to hand me these pills, it just took everything from me, and I ended up in prison
Oxys,
here in
right?
Florida. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Every
ma'am.
time. Every
Yeah.
time. So how old were you when this happened? I mean, you've already got your career. I'm sure you had a
Yeah.
family started.
Yeah. So, well, the car accident happened in 2000, and so I was led down to many years of, the road of addiction,
Yeah.
and until it finally landed me in prison with some charges in 2009. So
Okay. Now, how long was your prison stay?
I stayed. It was almost 4 years. It was. It was 3 years, 10 months, 15 days
Oh,
was my sentence. So
wow.
yeah.
Okay. So, again, you're already started your life. You're older. You've
Yes.
got a career, and this thing hits you. You
Yes.
get sentenced. You're going into prison. Again, I
Yes.
ask everybody, what is your thought process? What's your thought process
Well,
going in here?
I think I was a little bit different than most people that end up in prison, because I think a lot of times what happens is they get a little taste of it, or you get to get your feet wet just a little bit here and there with county jail terms and things like that before you actually go to prison. Well, that didn't happen with me. It's like I get in trouble. I do it real big, and so, like, other than spending, I think, 30 days in jail, I went straight to prison.
You only
And
spent 30 days
so
in the county?
yeah, yeah. So, like, my charges were of the sort and nature that it required a minimum mandatory sentence, and I went straight to prison. There was just no county time available. There was no scored out, and that was it. And I was gone.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I didn't have the experience of knowing what it's like to be locked up for any length of time, or getting my feet wet with county jail sentences before actually doing all that. So it's kind of like, in here, like, somewhat of a normal person,
Yeah.
a registered nurse, and of course you go in there
Function,
feeling
a
like you
functional
don't
addict.
belong there, and stuff like that. But once I got there and I start talking to these women, they're no different than me. No
I
different than
know.
me,
I
but
know.
I did have the attitude when I first went in, is I don't belong here. I'm not one of these people. But yeah, I was.
I
Come
got
to
it.
find out, I was just like them.
And that's exactly what it is. And I like
Yeah.
that perspective that you just shared with us because a lot of people, you always hear that saying, I was just lucky. It's just I'm the one that didn't get caught. You hear people
Right.
say that.
Yes.
So when they do go to prison from a normal, quote unquote, life,
Right. Yeah.
they get the understanding that these other women here are your neighbor. They live in your
Exactly.
town. They shop at
Yeah.
your stores. They drop kids off at the
Exactly.
same school you do.
Mhm.
They're your
Yeah.
neighbors. And this
Yes.
is what society needs to understand
Mhm.
is that
Yeah.
these people are being incarcerated, but they're still your neighbors. And they
Yes.
could be your
Yeah.
neighbors when they leave. So that's the
Yeah.
other thing that they need to think about.
Yeah.
Okay, so you touched down. I'm sure you hit FWRC, right? Was that your first intake?
The Lowell Correction, the reception center.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
How was your intake day? Can you just give us a very brief thought process on that? little
Oh,
ditty?
wow. It was kind of surreal.
Yeah.
It's a, oh, wow, that's rough, in the RNO. I think they give me tennis shoes that had holes this big in the bottom of it. At that time, we had the tennis shoes, not the Crocs.
Oh,
But
Bubba's.
and it would rain, your feet would get wet, clothes that didn't fit, holy clothes. It was just horrible the way they dressed you in there. It was degrading in itself. Um, but it wasn't until you get to your home camp. They kept explaining to people that when you get to your home prison, they will give you better clothing, in which they did.
They do, but how long did it take you to get now, that was a while ago, so I know that you went faster to your home camp. How long did it take you to get to your home camp?
It actually took me, I think it was 6.5 weeks.
Oh, baby, that is a miracle because these girls right now, because when I got dropped there, to go to work release and everything,
Mhm.
6 months,
Wow.
5 months,
Oh
they're
my
still in
goodness.
RNO. Could you
That's
imagine that? Okay,
crazy.
so what kind of things did you see that happen in prison that you can talk about
Um,
that society needs to know that happens in
well,
there?
there's a lot of corruption on the part of the officers, a lot of corruption. Um, their officer inmate relations, a lot of that going on, a lot of that going on. Seen a lot of that.
A lot.
There is there's officers that bring, things to inmates there that they shouldn't bring, and
Yeah.
you know, actually there's probably women in prison for doing less. You know what I'm saying? That
Absolutely.
I have seen some of these people do. So I mean, I'm going to put that nicely that way,
That's
but
very nicely. That's
mhm,
very nicely.
yeah.
What about the way that you're spoken to? Coming
Okay.
from and I'm quote unquote again, you've already got your career, you've already
Yeah.
got a steady life. How did you feel
Yeah.
when you walk in there verbally the way that they treat you?
Oh my goodness. I could not believe that they were allowed to speak to us this way. I've been called, I mean, I don't know if I can curse on this
Yeah, you
podcast,
can.
but I have been called bitch, cunt, whore, slut, crackhead. I mean, you name it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And they
I
don't know
have been,
anything about you.
they know nothing about me. They don't want to know nothing about me.
Right.
To me, I'm just, especially a white woman, I'm sad to say, in Florida Department of Corrections, you are a minority and you are the scum of the earth in the eyes of most officers in Florida DOC. I'm sad to say.
Yeah.
The only time that I was ever respected pretty much by officers is as I was going to my home camp. I had the privilege of going to Gaston and staying a few days there. And the officers were very nice. It was such a change compared to what I had just come through the
I
R&O.
heard about
I
that.
couldn't believe it. They're calling you ma'am, and I thought, well, this is the way that they should treat the inmates. We're
Ma'am,
not
I don't
dogs.
think I ever got called ma'am.
Yeah, up in gas. Yeah, I was just there for a few days, and they were so polite, and they treated you with respect. And I guess that has a lot to do with them being a private facility,
Yeah.
other than being employed by the Department of Corrections. And but what a difference! What a difference that has to be in your sentence, because I mean, you're already feeling down on yourself. You've already put yourself in a bad situation. You're here, you're home away from your family. You're going through a bad enough time, but then to walk in and have these officers treat you with such disrespect and disregard is just uncalled for.
Yeah.
There's been times when I have needed a um a slip, for call outs, that I needed a doctor to see a doctor, and I couldn't get an officer to look up long enough to look at me and hand me one. But I went and got a black inmate because I knew that she could get one. And I asked, would she please get me one? And she went immediately to get that. It happened with toilet paper all the time. You need
Yeah.
toilet paper, you had to ask. You weren't getting it if you were a white person.
Yeah.
I'm sad to say, but it was true. It's
And
true.
I will agree with that a lot, because I was at several camps.
Mhm.
And I do agree that white women in the women camps, we are the minority. Um, and there is a lot of reverse racism that happens
Yeah,
there. And
yeah.
I don't have hate in my heart for any single color.
Mhm.
I don't see color, I see people's hearts. That's what I
Yeah,
see. So I had
right.
black friends, Mexican
Mhm.
friends, Spanish friend. I had every friend
Mhm.
in there.
Yeah,
And dealt
yeah,
with every single type of person because they were just my friends. They were my bunkies. They were
yeah,
my neighbor. But I understand the plight that you're talking about because
yeah,
just to get an officer to look up, just acknowledge you as a human
yeah,
being because they have control of the slip you need to turn in to get help from medical
yes,
and you can't
yeah,
get it.
right,
Wow.
exactly.
So tell us a little.
I think it took me 3 days to get a slip, and
Three.
days, and actually, I was sick.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, Kim. Can you bring your phone closer?
Yeah, somebody had tried to call me.
Oh,
I don't know why.
it's
I'm
okay.
sorry. Somebody was trying to call in. Can you hear
That's
me?
okay. I can hear you. So it took
Okay.
you a while to get that. And what were you going to say?
I said it just took, by the time I actually got the slip to fill it out saying I needed attention, I didn't need attention anymore almost. It was like I had suffered through it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
you learn.
just so the audience knows, here in Florida, in medical, if you have something that's bothering you, you
Yes.
basically, unless it's an emergency, you have to submit 3 different medical forms 3 separate times and get charged $5 each for them, whether you're
Yes.
indigent or not, to be
Yes.
seen by the doctor to treat said whatever. It's ludicrous.
Yes. Yeah, you have to fill out the slip asking that you be seen for if it's dental, medical. It's not like you can get sick and you need to see a doctor right away. It's not happening unless you're, dying. You know what I'm saying? They're not taking. You have to fill out the request form. It has to be approved. You have to be put on the schedule and you're given an appointment and a call time. And that could take some time sometimes.
Yeah. And it takes
Yeah.
literally up to 3 times for them to say, oh, okay, this
Yeah.
is their third request. They can be seen.
Yeah, let's go
Um,
ahead and put them on the schedule next week or so.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. And medical was just so bad. Every single person that they had as their medical provider, it's just a mess in there. And the thing with women is, we go through changes when we get older. They don't deal with that either. They don't
no,
deal
they
with
don't. No, they don't.
any of that. And you being a nurse, the changes that we go through and the things that are
Yeah,
needed
yes,
that we need for our bodies, and that's not
yeah,
allowed.
no, no. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that are needed there that are not given. Yeah, a lot.
Tell us
It's
about
just
your mom.
a real basic uh general like medical thing. Like here's your Tylenol, uh here's you some cold medicine. It's just real basic. It's not anything. They're not going out for nothing.
Oh no,
Uh,
you got to have a head
real
injury or
simple.
about to die to go out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're not
yeah.
going to a private doctor.
No,
Now,
no.
tell me a
And
little
I
bit.
found out. Uh, and talking to one of the doctors one day. And when he found out I was a nurse, of course they want to talk to you a little bit more. They open up a little bit more when
Oh
they
yeah.
feel like, you're on their level a little bit or something. But he was talking to me, and then he found out where I was from Zephyr Hills. So he says, I used to have a practice there. I'm like, really? And then he told me who he was. And I'm like, oh yeah, because and the reason I said it like that was because he was a doctor that had got in trouble for running a pill mill kind of here and now in town. And that's why he was employed for at the Department of Corrections, because he was placed on some kind of probation or
Uh-huh.
something because of his troubles. And part of his punishment or whatever, or getting out of trouble, was to work in a facility like the prison system. So a lot of these doctors and things that we have on, there on staff are, I think, doctors that have been in trouble or been sanctioned somehow,
Dude, you just
and
blew my whole mind.
that's their like punishment is like, well, let's go. You're gonna go work at this place for a while,
Did his
So,
name start with a G?
yeah, I think it did.
Yeah.
I don't hardly remember, but
Yeah, well,
this
that
was,
makes a lot of
yeah,
sense
it's
then
like,
about why
wow,
they're the way they are, because they don't care. They don't care.
no,
They don't
no,
care.
they don't
So
care.
tell us very quickly.
I think that most of them are there on punishment,
I do too.
because
And a
they're
lot of
being
them
made
have like,
to work in a facility.
yeah, and they have medical
That's kind
licenses
of
that
jaw
aren't,
dropping. I'm like, what?
I know their medical licenses aren't even in the United States, some of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you had mentioned earlier really quickly about your mom. You said your mom, can you just tell us a little bit about that before we go? Because I want people to know, what your mom thought, because this is what most people think.
Uh, my mom thought prison. She had this fantasy type ideal of what prison life was like, and to her, prison was the safest place that her daughter could be. Like it's safe and sound, and you were well taken care of and well fed, had a nice
Oh,
bed, and oh my, she could have been farther from the truth. Of course, I didn't tell my mom a lot of these things because I didn't want her to worry about me. But I slept on a metal bed with this much of a mattress because all the stuffing had been pulled out of it, and actually it was a half of a mattress for a while
mhm.
before I could actually uh purchase one myself from another inmate with some
Inmate.
commissary. I mean, that's how you get things there. You have to
Ex-
trade. You find someone who's got it, and you take your commissary and say, here, let me buy this pillow or this mattress, or these
which
nicer
is state
clothes.
property, which is state property that
Yeah.
we're having to barter, which is illegal, our
Yes.
own food that our
Mm-hmm.
families gave us just so we can get a
Yeah.
piece of state property that somebody is leaving that we should have had in the first place.
Exactly. Exactly.
Listen, I
Exactly.
slept on a
And
I
I've
slept
done
with a
it.
paper plate.
Yeah. And then they got, like, and the whole commissary line in itself is ridiculous. The store, the line. I mean, I have waited in line for hours,
And
and
still not made
only
it to the
for the
window.
yard to close, and it's took me a week to get to the front of the window sometimes, unless I paid someone to get the line, to get the spot for me, because you
Just
had these girls that were close to the, closest to the commissary, and they could get out there and get in line first, and
yep,
you could pay them $10, buy them $10 worth of groceries just to get in line first, so you can make sure that you get a chance to go to the store that day. It's
absolutely.
just ridiculous.
And like you said, it can take you hours. Say you go out in the morning yard, okay, because there's sometimes 3 yards. So you go out in the morning yard, you sit there for
Yeah.
2.5 hours, you haven't reached the window, it closes. So you go back out in the afternoon yard. Well, you're still back in the same spot because people keep buying spots. So there are 15 people in front of you now.
Yep.
And 10
Yeah.
minutes later, there's like 30 people in front of you. So you still don't get to,
Exactly.
it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
Nightmare. Yeah.
So what's going on in your life right now? I know you're out,
Well,
you're good.
well, I'm just trying to stay focused on, the good things in life, I guess. I'm just grateful that I made it through that period in my life. Wouldn't
Me
want to
too.
go through that again, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just great. I'm grateful I made it out alive through everything, and to be sitting here to be able to talk to you today. I've, been down some long, dark roads, out on the streets and in prison, and it's been tough, but I'm here.
Now, I do have one last question for you. You know, this all stemmed from your addiction.
Yes.
Did they ever offer you substance abuse, a
Never.
treatment facility for a
No.
year, 6 months, nothing, no Spectrum, no Phoenix House?
And that's what shocked me so much. Like I said, like when this happened to me, because I had never been in trouble before, other than spending a 30-day stint. I'd never been in trouble. I didn't have drug charges like, a lot of people, start
Yeah,
out and, they'll catch a possession and they'll stay in county jail a little
right. You've
while,
never
or they'll
done
be
county,
offered
you've
stuff
never
like
done
that.
prison.
But with me, when I got in trouble, I had, like, I think it was 13 felony counts of sales, possessions, trafficking,
Yeah.
and it warranted minimum mandatory prison. So there was
For a
no offering
drug
me
charge.
nothing. It was
See,
straight
this
to
is what
prison.
kills me here, because this is a woman who has a career. She has a family. Because of an accident, she got hooked on pain pills. Okay, so
Yes.
what? She did whatever, her crime. Here's my problem with this sentencing process in our judicial system right now is, why would Kimberly not be offered a substance abuse treatment center to rectify her need in her mind and her body and heal that, instead of sending her to prison to do absolutely nothing,
Right.
nothing while you're there,
Yeah.
except read and maybe have some menial job,
Yeah.
and
Well,
deal with all kinds of BS. Why was she not offered substance abuse treatment? Because I bet you a year at the Phoenix House and rigorous treatment and cognitive thinking, you'd have been right
yeah.
back with your family.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. No
It's
doubt.
wrong.
But the reason it was never offered to me is because I had a trafficking charge that I never would have gotten had not the cop kept an undercover police officer uh got me, and he I never would have trafficked this drug had he not set it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like he just drug me in this little trap and just kept getting charges on me and kept getting charged. It's like, if you get me once, why didn't you arrest me and take me and you say I was committing crimes, but you just keep coming and coming, because he kept getting more and more and wanting more and more. And had he not been wanting more, I never would have been doing this thing. It was like he made me commit, almost like had me commit these crimes
Well, the
in
thing
order
about
to send me to
oxy,
prison for a longer term. And
yeah,
that was their whole point, was try to get a trafficking charge on me. I would have never committed that trafficking charge had he not set it up to begin with.
right.
And
And
here,
here's the
so that,
question: why didn't they just stop it when it started? When you
well,
committed your first,
they say that
right?
I uh need to be off the street because I was committing these crimes. Well, why are you keep making me commit them? You keep coming. You know what I'm saying? It's like, after the first time, arrest me, put
Well,
me
I
in
think
jail.
that right.
No, they did it 5 times
It's
over a
entrapment.
few months period of time. They continue to let me stay on the streets, even though they say I'm a menace to society,
A menace.
and until they get this trafficking charge on me that he set up. And now I have a minimum mandatory 3-year sentence just because of that charge, that one charge.
Right.
So that's why I was never allowed any substance abuse counseling, treatment, anything like, because my charge warranted that I go to prison for a minimum of 3 years because of that one charge.
Well,
So
right now, what I want to tell, or my message that I want to get out to society based on this right here is, this is a problem, and this is what we're dealing with in America. We're sending people to prison who don't need to be there.
exactly.
And there's a big scale. I'm just going to focus on addicts right now. Now, I understand a lot of people out there are going to go, oh, well, they keep committing crimes. Okay, well, Kimberly didn't. Okay. She never committed a crime before. And why wouldn't they stop her after the first one? Because at that point, her life could have been spared
It could have
for
been
being
so
a
much different.
absolutely. You could have learned and stopped that behavior.
Yeah.
Your family could have been reunited sooner. I don't
Mhm.
understand why we as a whole are not trying to put family first and society first and be more compassionate to people who need help.
Yeah.
Prison is not help.
Yeah.
Prison is
No.
definitely a
No.
timeout. Okay,
Absolutely.
and I agree that people need timeouts. I needed
Yeah.
one.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
It saved my life.
Yeah.
But for a person like you never committed a crime before. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And together, guys, we need to come together.
Yeah.
Get more compassionate. Start understanding about addiction.
Mhm.
Don't tell me you don't have addicts in your family because you do. Somebody down
Yeah.
there along the line is using, whether
Yeah.
you know it or not, and you probably do. Get them some
Yeah.
help. We
Yeah.
need to start telling people about this issue.
Yeah.
I'm blabbering now. All right, listen,
Mhm.
Kimberly, I love you. It was such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure getting to meet you. I can't wait to
Thank
talk
you.
further. I will be posting this later this week. Again, it was such a pleasure to speak with you. Keep your
Thank
head
you.
up.
Thank you
You're
for having me.
beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you. You
All right.
too.
You guys, we're going to go ahead and sign off right now. Thank you so much for joining us again at Pure Prison. Remember, peace or pain, you got the decision to make, so make good ones. All right, you guys. I'll be back with you in a couple days. Hope you have a good one.